తెలుగు వాడినంటావు, తెలుగు వాడనంటావు, తెలుగు వాడినంటావు, తెలుగు వాడనంటావు, తెలుగు వాడ నివసిస్తూ తెలుగును విడిచేస్తావు, తెలుగు వాడ నివసిస్తూ తెలుగును విడిచేస్తావు, తెలుగు వాడినంటావు, తెలుగు వాడనంటావు, తెలుగు వాడ నివసిస్తూ తెలుగును విడిచేస్తావు. చిన్నతనంలో వజ్జలు దిద్దించిన అక్షరాల పలికించిన ఊసులన్నీ వాడుకలో వేడుకగా, చిన్నతనంలో వజ్జలు దిద్దించిన అక్షరాల పలికించిన ఊసులన్నీ వాడుకలో వేడుకగా, వాడకనే మూల పెట్టి వాడి తగ్గి నీల్గుటేలా, వాడకనే మూల పెట్టి వాడి తగ్గి నీల్గుటేల, పలుకుటకే చిన్నతనమా పలకరింతలే నేరమా, పలుకుటకే చిన్నతనమ పలకరింతలే నేరమ, తెలుగు వాడంటావు, తెలుగు వాడనంటావు, తెలుగు పలుకు బడులు కరువు, తెలుగు పలుకు బడులు కరువు, తెలుగు వెలుగులంటేను తెలుగు చితికి మంట కాదు, కట్టుబొట్టు నుడులు ఎరవు బ్రతుకు తెరువు చూడు బరువు, నోటి తలపులను తెరువు మేటి తలపులను పరువు, తెలుగు వాడినంటావు, తెలుగు వాడనంటావు, తెలుగు వాడ నివసిస్తూ తెలుగును విడిచేస్తావు, అమ్మ నాన్న అనుచు పిలువు కనులలోన చూడు మెరుపు, తెలుగు తల్లి మనసు మురియు సొరలు వెచ్చు విరులు కురియు, నీ పిల్లల నీ మనుమల తెలుగు తీయదనమ్మప్పు, ఇంట బయట రచ్చబండ తెలుగు జిలుగులను నింపు, నీ రేపటి సిరులన్నీ తెలుగు నేలనే గలవు, తెలుగు నేల 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 తెలుగు నింట రానీయవు, తెలుగు చేల తెలుగు పూల తెలుగు బాలలను పెంచు, తెలుగు పసిడి పంటలలో తళుకు తార కలలగాంచు, తెలుగు చేల తెలుగు పూల తెలుగు బాలలను పెంచు, తెలుగు పసిడి పంటలలో తళుకు తార కలలగాంచు, తెలుగు వాడినంటావు, తెలుగు వాడనంటావు, తెలుగు వాడ నివసిస్తూ తెలుగును విడిచేస్తావు, తెలుగును విడిచేస్తావు, తెలుగును విడిచేస్తావు. ధన్యవాదాలండి. అయిపోయింది నాకు ఇచ్చిన సమయం.
సంబంధించి ఒక 2-3 పద్యాలు చదివానా? ఇంకోసారి పాడదాం, ఇంకోసారి చివరిలోనే ఎప్పుడు పాడుతురు కానీ సమయం ఉంటే పాడుతురు కానీ కొంచెం మధ్యలో.
సార్ పాట చాలా బాగుంది సార్, మంచి పదబంధాలతో బాగా ఉంది, చాలా సంతోషం. ధన్యవాదాలు సార్.
చాలా చాలా బాగుంది సార్, అభినందనలు మీకు. చక్కటి పాట,
పాట చాలా తెలుగు పైన
తెలుగు వాడనంటావు. బాగుంది సార్,
శ్లేష బాగుంది,
శ్లేష చాలా బాగుంది సార్.
ఓకే, ధన్యవాదాలు సార్. రాణి సార్.
అయ్యా అందరికీ నమస్కారం. మీ అందరి అనుమతితోటి నేను బయలుదేరుతున్నాను. ఇప్పుడు విజయవాడ నుంచి తిరుపతి బయలుదేరాలి, నా ట్రైన్ కి సమయం అవుతుంది. అందుకోసం
అలాగే వడివడిగా వెళ్ళి వేడిగా కాఫీ తాగి
అలాగే
ప్రయాణించండి. సంతోషం,
ధన్యవాదాలు, ప్రణామాలు.
ఇక నుంచి విన్నపం అందరికీ, వెళ్లే వాళ్ళు ఎవరు నేను వెళ్తున్నానని చెప్పొద్దు. దానికోసం మళ్ళీ ఒక నిమిషం వృధా. వెళ్ళటమే అంతే. వచ్చే వాళ్ళు వస్తుంటారు, వెళ్లే వాళ్ళు వెళ్తుంటారు. వాచస్పతి గారు వచ్చారు.
కార్యక్రమం మొదలు పెట్టండి, వేళ మించిపోతుంది.
పద్మావతి గారు, అమ్మ కార్యక్రమం మొదలు పెట్టమ్మా మీరు.
సంతోషం. సభా సరస్వతికి నమస్సులు.
అందరూ తెర మీద కనిపిస్తే బాగుంటుందండి.
కనిపిస్తున్నాం సార్. ఈ సాయం సంధ్య వేళ భాషామ తల్లి సేవలో పునీతులవుతున్న సార్ సభా సరస్వతికి నమస్సులు. ఈ సాయం సంధ్య వేళ భాషామ తల్లి సేవలో పునీతమవుతున్న ఆత్మీయులందరికీ పేరు పేరున స్వాగతం. మనం ప్రతి నెల 2వ 4వ శనివారాలు రచ్చబండ కార్యక్రమంలో తెలుగు భాషా వికాసం కోసం కృషి చేస్తున్న వారంతా ఒకచోట కూడి ప్రస్తుత మన కర్తవ్యాన్ని సమీక్షించుకుంటాం. భాష కోసం విశేషంగా కృషి చేస్తున్న వారి సందేశాలను, సూచనలను పంచుకుంటున్నాం. అందులో భాగంగా ఈ వారం మన రచ్చబండ కార్యక్రమానికి విచ్చేసిన ఆత్మీయులు, ఈనాటి మన ముఖ్య అతిథి, భారతీయ భాషల పురోగతికి అవిరళ కృషి చేస్తున్న ప్రముఖ భాషా శాస్త్రవేత్త గౌరవనీయులు శ్రీ జోగా సింగ్ గారు. వారు MA, MPhil, PhD చేసి రిటైర్డ్ ప్రొఫెసర్, డిపార్ట్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ లింగ్విస్టిక్ లో పనిచేశారు. వారు ఈ రోజు భారతీయ భాషలపై దాడి ఎదుర్కోవడం ఎలా అనే అంశంపై ప్రసంగిస్తారు. వీరు జూలై 10, 1953లో పంజాబ్ లో జన్మించారు. వీరు ఆంథ్రోపాలజికల్ లింగ్విస్టిక్స్ లో పోస్ట్ గ్రాడ్యుయేషన్ పంజాబ్ యూనివర్సిటీ నుండి చేశారు. వీరు 1981లో గోల్డ్ మెడల్ అందుకున్నారు. ఆ తర్వాత MPhil 1987లో లింగ్విస్టిక్స్, ప్రత్యేకత ఏంటంటే ఉస్మానియా యూనివర్సిటీ హైదరాబాద్ నుండి తీసుకున్నారు. PhD 1993 లింగ్విస్టిక్స్ UK నుండి చేశారు. వీరు కామన్వెల్త్ స్కాలర్షిప్ అవార్డును లండన్ నుండి తీసుకున్నారు. బోధన, పరిశోధన అనుభవం, టీచింగ్ అండ్ రీసెర్చ్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ వీరికి 34 సంవత్సరాల నుండి ఉంది. ఇది చాలా ప్రత్యేకమైన, విశేషమైన విషయం. వీరి ప్రచురణలు, పబ్లికేషన్స్ 5 బుక్స్ వెలువడ్డాయి. 100కు పైగా రీసెర్చ్ పేపర్స్ సబ్మిట్ చేశారు. భారతీయ భాషల కోసం, ముఖ్యంగా తెలుగు కోసం జోగా సింగ్ గారు వారి మాతృభాష తెలుగు కాకపోయినా విశేషంగా కృషి చేస్తున్నారు. ఆందోళనలు నిర్వహించిన సందర్భాలున్నాయి. వారి ఆవేదనను కూడా వారి మాటల్లో మనం వినవచ్చు. ఇంగ్లీష్, హిందీ భాషలు ఎలా భారతీయ భాషలపై ఆధిపత్యం చెలాయిస్తున్నాయి అనే అంశాలని ఈ రోజు వారి నుంచి మనం తెలుసుకుందాం. వారు ఈ రోజు మనకు భాషలపై జరుగుతున్న అన్యాయాన్ని తెలియజేస్తూనే భాషా పరిరక్షణకు మనం ఏ విధంగా సమాయత్తం కావాలో అనే విషయాన్ని కూడా తెలియజేస్తారు. ఇప్పుడు వారిని మనం సాదరంగా ఈ రచ్చబండ కార్యక్రమానికి ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాం. స్వాగతం సార్. ఈ కార్యక్రమంలో మిమ్మల్ని పరిచయం చేయడం మా అదృష్టం. ధన్యవాదాలు.
జోగా సింగ్ జీ నమస్తే.
నమస్కారం అండి. Thanks a lot, Padmavati garu, and namaskar to everybody. Thank you very much, Mr. P.K. Ramaiah sir, for giving me this opportunity to say a few words to such celebrated people and scholarly people. I wish I kept listening to the song Rani Garu has been singing. That would have been a better option than me talking some academic things. Anyhow, she has given already a very long introduction to me, and I don't think I deserve that much. Anyhow, so we'll be talking a few things about languages in India, and particularly in the Telugu context. As she has mentioned, I have very fond memories and associations with Telugu Nadu. I stayed in Hyderabad for 3.5 years, did my MPhil in linguistics from Osmania University, Hyderabad, and I had the great company of people like Bhadraj Krishnamurti and Chekuri Ramarao. He was my supervisor, Professor Sanathan Rana, and friends like Uma Bheshwar Rao, Ramanaya, Ishwar Chandra, and many others. Had a very, very, very pleasant time there. Never felt that I was away from home, and learned linguistics somewhat, of course. First of all, we know that the situation of Indian languages, even the scheduled ones who are state languages of one or other state, even their situation, they are in a very perilous situation. We can see that particularly the situation is same almost in all over India. but the Telugu situation is somewhat different. Nowhere any state in India have started converting all government school, mother tongue government schools into English medium. This is what the decision Telangana has taken, and in spite of all the inputs from people like me and others, they are not listening, or they are not listening to any argument or any logic or any evidence, and they are bent upon it. The same was the situation. Andhra Pradesh also was declared that they will convert all the Telugu medium schools into English ones, but there was some resistance. And then I think somebody went to court also, and court said that you cannot impose a medium. That's the situation. What is this reason? And I think we are in a very perilous situation if we don't take care of our language very quickly in a very strong way. There will be no more, because the present situation is different from some, say, 100 years back. 100 years back or 200 years back, nobody went to school, and people lived in their own reasons and linguistic reasons, spoke the language, and spent their whole life living in that language. There was no much interference of any other language. But now there's a great interference, not only from one language, from many other languages into everybody's life. And the most sensitive sector, which is education, as everybody is going to school, and whatever medium he or she studies in, that medium is going to become his, I would say, if not, we could even say mother tongue. If we don't want to say the mother tongue, we could say that will become his or her first language. And that is the case with most of the Indian children who are going into English medium schools. Earlier schools were not in English medium. They were in mother tongue medium. Only higher education was English. But now, since 19, the trend is on rise very fastly. And in places like Punjab, half of the children are going to English medium schools. And the same situation is going to happen everywhere. But why it is so? I will read out two quotations, one from a UNESCO book and one from a British Council book. British Council, British Council is the agency. I request everybody to mute their mics, please. Otherwise there's disturbance. Yeah. So the British Council is the agency to teach English, and help teaching English worldwide. And I will just cite two quotations. First from UNESCO about learning English or learning a language, and that will help us to place our argument or the discussion in a proper context. This first quote is from UNESCO 2008 book, which is Improving the Quality of Mother Tongue Based Literacy and Learning. This was a project funded by the World Bank, carried out by UNESCO, and it included 12 countries from 5 continents to have a proper and wide picture. And this quote is on page 2 of that book, and I quote, "What seems to be standing in our way is a set of myths about language and learning. And these myths must be revealed as much as such to open people's eyes. One such myth is that the best way to learn a foreign language is to use it as a medium of instruction. In fact, it is often more effective to learn additional languages as subjects of study. Another myth is that to learn a foreign language, you must start as early as possible. Starting early might help learners to have a nice accent, but otherwise, the advantage goes to learners who have a well-developed first language." A third myth is that the home language gets in the way of learning a foreign language. Building a strong foundation in the first language results in a better learning of additional languages. Clearly, these myths are more false than true, Yet, these guide the way policymakers tend to think about how speakers of other language must learn dominant or official language. Unquote. This was a quote from a UNESCO book, and more about how to learn English or how to learn a foreign language. And this is what the British Council says. I quote, "There is little or no evidence to support the widely held view that English as medium of instruction is a better or surer way to attain fluency in English than via quality English as subject. Expert estimates are that it makes pupils 6 to 8 years to develop the cognitive and academic language proficiency needed to support learning across the curriculum. A move to English as a medium of instruction in or just after lower primary, commonly found in South Africa and South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, yields too shallow a foundation of English to sustain learning across the curriculum from the upper primary years onwards. Early introduction of English as a medium of instruction is thus viewed as impairing learning in the formative years and limiting educational attainment." Unquote. So when we see what government of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh and other governments in India are doing, when we put their decision in this context, what these two quotations tell us, they simply tell that medium, if you want to learn English better, mother tongue medium is better than English medium if other things are equal. What does that mean is that either our policymakers are totally ignorant about how to learn English. Leave other things aside. I am talking about learning English. So our policymakers are either totally ignorant about how to learn English, or there are some other reasons they don't want to put the proper and correct policy in practice. I think one reason is that due to the colonial history, English has dominated all our formal contexts and positions of power and profit. So it happens, which language dominates the positions of power and profit and all formal domains and all domains which are prestigious, that language becomes a prestigious language, and a stage comes where we stop using our languages for education, for administration, for other formal domains, and people start thinking that our languages are incapable of being vehicles of, say, higher education, of science, of technology, and of other formal things. But that is a myth. That's a myth because for the past few thousand years, I don't understand any language has produced a new word. No language in the world has produced a new word, at least for the past 1,000 years. Whatever new words are being produced, they are just formed from the old elements, which what we call roots and affixes. For example, this word computer came into use around 1940s in English language. But there is nothing new in it. Computer comes from compute and earth. Compute is a Latin root, which means to calculate. Can you think there is any language in the world which does not have a word or a root for calculating? Because all people all over the world, speakers of all languages, have been calculating, and they must be having a word for calculation, as we have in Telugu and Punjabi and English and everything. So this is a myth that our languages are incapable of conveying a higher level of thought or a higher level of science and technology. Each language, even a language who have 10,000 speakers, is capable of communicating the highest level of knowledge and science and technology or whatever we want to. So because we are not using our mother tongue, so stage comes, people start losing faith in our languages, and then they become less prestigious, and even people start speaking their mother tongue. They think that if you speak English, you will look wiser, and if you speak Telugu or Punjabi, you will not appear as wise people. And I said that is a very easy way to wisdom. Then teach English to everybody, and everybody become wise. Anna. So all the 700 billion people of the world can be made wise within 1 year, because within 1 year you can learn English to an extent that you could be even called a mother tongue speaker of English. So if English is the language of wisdom, the whole world can be made wise within 1 year. But that is not the case. So it is a myth that our languages are not capable of conveying higher level thoughts. Each language is equally capable, and it doesn't take very long. And even if we see the other evidence from education, which are the countries which are at the top in education, which are the countries which are at top in economics, which are the countries which are tops in international trade, which are the countries which are at the top in science and technology. So you will reach, I don't want to give too many figures and facts to save time, but anybody can sit on computer and ask the Google Baba all these questions, and within it will not take more than 2 hours that you will come to know that in all spheres of life, even modern life, those countries who have been teaching or who are teaching, imparting education in their mother tongue, they are at the top. The countries even like UK and America, where most of the speakers are mother speakers of English is their mother tongue, and even USA and UK are not at the top in school level education. I know that some 10 years back, only 2 or 3 countries, English-speaking countries, were among the top 50. The USA was not among the 50 even, and UK was ranked 27th or so. Even now, for the past 10 years, except Singapore, no English-speaking country is among the top 10 in mathematics and science. In mathematics science, teaching of mathematics science at school level. Not even a single English-speaking country among us the top 10 in the past 10 years. You can check all these facts. So the reason is that either our policymakers are ignorant or there are other reasons. I think they are ignorant as well, but there are other reasons too. One reason is English has become an instrument of dominance. Not only English, even Hindi to a certain extent, and even the regional languages in the regional context. So they become the instruments of dominance of all formal domains, of all places of positions of power and profit. So they become instruments. And with English, the elite, the powerful elite, doesn't want to leave their dominance. They want to keep their hegemony intact through the instrument of English. And English is an unequal weapon. Some people think that teach English to the poorer ones, and they will be able to compete with the elite and with the students coming from prosperous backgrounds. But that is totally a myth, because if English becomes the medium of education, the poorer people cannot compete at all with the prosperous children, because they don't have the resources needed to support English as a medium of education. The elite has they can send their wards to very costly tutors. They have all these instruments like laptops and all their parents are educated. They can speak English at home. They can help their children, but that is not the case with poorer children. So if English becomes the medium of education, the disparity between rich and poor will further worsen. The disparity will be wider. That is well attested by all the research all over the languages. So other reason, along with ignorance, that the elite doesn't want to leave their dominance. They want to keep their dominance intact in all places of power and profit. Thirdly, a new element is added, particularly during these past in the era of liberalization during the past 30 years, that language has become a strong instrument of earning profit. How? That is through education. So private education, privatization of education is a domain which is a big domain for earning profit. So this education is being privatized to make profit. And the privatization of education, it cannot be sustained and cannot be even implemented if English is not the medium of education. I generally say that this English medium this privatization of education has only one leg, that is the English medium. And if that leg is broken, that no private school will be able to exist, and they will all be closed. So that's why they want to keep the hegemony of English intact, so that the education could be privatized and they can make big profits from this privatization of education. And to keep the hegemony of English intact, then English is imposed in every domain, everywhere, in all administration, in private jobs, in all admissions for tests, in all this tests for jobs and everywhere. So English dominance is consolidated, and it is made stronger so that the English medium education could be sustained. The people should have the impression that you cannot survive without English. But that has made us, that has caused us losses which cannot be computed, which cannot be calculated even. It has caused us educational losses. It has caused us scientific, technological losses. It has caused us economic losses, because any country in the modern day world cannot find a respectful place in any domain if their system of education is not working properly. And no system of education works properly until and unless we teach children in their mother tongue. I have quoted you that British Council citation. It says it takes 6 to 8 years to have some competence in English, that children will be able to understand something of their content, but they will not be able to understand fully when they go to the higher classes. Even if we don't count the higher classes loss, the 6 and 8 years loss in the initial years, that can never be, we will never be able to compete with anybody in the world, because 6 years or 8 years of educational loss cannot be covered in any way. You can count loss in terms of money, loss in terms of time, loss in terms of motivation for education, because children don't understand, they are not motivated, they lost all interest in any domain of curiosity or scholarship. So there are losses which cannot be calculated, and huge losses. And then there are losses of culture, of language. Those are civilizational losses. If you lose your language, you cannot connect with your culture, you cannot connect with history, you cannot connect with your past, you cannot connect with your own people, and you cannot even carry out the random daily routine. For example, if somebody is a clerk in a small town in Tamil Nadu or in a Telugu-speaking area, if he doesn't know Telugu well, he will not be able to discharge his duties as a clerk as well, because people will not be knowing that much of English, which he thinks he needs that people should know. And he doesn't know, he will not be knowing the Telugu that much, as much he needed to carry out his own daily routine, even the clerical routine. So we are suffering a huge civilizational, economic, scientific, technological losses, and all of our Indian policies are being driven by ignorance, by other selfish interests, and until and unless we revert to this, we cannot make some honorable place as a country, as a political entity or as a civilizational entity on this globe. That is what I think. And then what to do is that I think we need to bring all these results of our academic research, successful international practices, and the facts and figures from the field of education, science, economy, trade, everything. We need to bring all this to the notice of common people. You cannot rely on this elite, the middle class elite, which has a selfish interest in sustaining this English-based education and English in all spheres of formal life and in all spheres of profit and position and power. So we have to rely on the common people who are suffering most. Even elite is suffering, because if India is lagging behind, Indian elite will lag behind the elite of the other world. So they too are suffering. It's not the case they are not suffering, but they not see their larger interest or the wider interest. They just look at their narrow interest, that how they could keep dominating the Indian positions of power and profit and all that. And by that, they themselves are suffering great losses in terms of education, in terms of development, in terms of our place, India's place on this earth. So we need to go to everybody, to each nook and corner of the country, to tell that what India is doing is total ignorance, no expert, no research, no successful international practice recommends that, and we need to change all that. Otherwise, we are doomed to I would say, finish as a country, because we'll be nowhere. We will not be able to make any place in science, education, technology, or leave aside the domains like culture and history and cultural development, other things which are a very soft domain. So what I at the end I want to say is that we need to take this correct and scientific view about language issues to each nook and corner of the country. And this is not only me I am saying, I am just telling you what experts have been saying. Even all the committees and commissions which have been formed in India from the very first day, from Radhakrishnan Commission in 1950 onward to Kothari Commission and even the latest, our NEP 2020, all recommend that education should be imparted in the mother tongue. But it never happens, because they leave such big holes, loopholes in those policy statements, that those loopholes are exploited, though they state that the school education in particular should be the mother tongue. But it never happens, because mother tongues do not have the hegemony over all the formal domains, on the domains of position and power. That is with English to certain and Hindi, and to a certain extent even the regional languages in their regional domain. So we need to take the truth to people. Otherwise, I think we are left with a very short time, because each child is going to school now, and whatever is as I stated earlier, what is the medium of education, that is going to become his first language, and then in the next generation, that will become their mother tongue. And all Indian languages, including Hindi, will be finished, because Hindi is suffering at the hands of English in the same way other languages have been suffering. In the Hindi-speaking regions of Uttar Pradesh and Haryana, which is the place where Hindi is mother tongue, all Hindi medium schools are being converted into English medium. Even the government Hindi medium schools in Uttar Pradesh and Haryana are being converted into English medium by the BJP government, who take pride in Hindi and everything. But then they take pride. I'll just give you one instant and I'll finish. The Haryana government advertised in the new media, spent a lot of money and advertised that they have converted 391 Hindi medium government schools into English ones. That is what the Haryana government is taking pride in converting Hindi medium schools into English ones. If Hindi cannot survive, you cannot think about other languages will survive in the face of that onslaught we have been facing. That's what I want to say. And I would like to have some queries and questions, and then if there are clarifications, I'll make during that time. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Dhanyawad.
మన నేస్తాలు ప్రశ్నలు అడగండి.
కోదండరామయ్య గారు, నేను మధురెడ్డిని, అడగొచ్చా?
Yeah.
Mr. Joga Singh, in many
Yes,
European
sir.
countries, like Scandinavian countries, where population is like 5 million or below 10 million, they're teaching even university level in their own mother tongue.
Yeah.
And many of these countries rank on the top 10 in the education all over the world. And
Most of them are in the top 10.
They are very prosperous too. In
Yeah.
India, why don't we also teach engineering, medicine also in the regional languages, so that the students will benefit more? Because most of the doctors deal with the patients who speak only the local languages. They don't speak English. Then when you go in practice, he has to speak in say in Telugu Nadu in Telugu, and they are learning in English. How that is going to benefit? So it's a good to have mother tongue taught before they learn a second language. That's what you think of that?
Exactly. And learning a second language, as I stated, this UNESCO petition says, and British Council, and these are not the only statements. There are thousands and thousands of studies, and all of them come to the same conclusion that other things being equal, if mother tongue is the medium of education, children will learn foreign language better than the foreign language medium. That's very much there. And you talked about dealing with people. It is not mere dealing with people. They will not be able to deal with people. Secondly, they will not be good doctors. They will not be good engineers, because they themselves will not be able to comprehend the content pretty well, particularly during the initial years, if that is not taught in their mother tongue. And that's what British Council says, that it takes 6 to 8 years to have that competence, that you will be able to understand somewhat of your content, not the food content, somewhat of your content. And it takes, and also it's a myth that if you learn English early during the childhood, you will learn better. There's a plenty of evidence. Recently, Massachusetts Institute of Technology of USA conducted a very wide study taking 640,000 people, and they came to a conclusion that a foreign language is learned better during adulthood than during childhood. So they say 15 years or even 20 years after, you learn better. So it takes just 1 year to learn any foreign language to an extent that you will be able to then study in that language, and it will be like somewhat like your mother tongue. Yeah. But it is not happening because policies are made by the government and dominant elite, and they don't want that. Otherwise, if government wants, it can be converted very quickly. You know, all these African countries, they used to teach in English medium at school level. But now most of them have started teaching in the mother tongue, except Nigeria. No African countries left who teach in English medium at school level. There are English medium schools, but it is decreasing day by day. It is decreasing day by day. But in our case, it is increasing. Or in that case, even the sub-Saharan African countries are better in terms of policy and practice when it comes to medium of education.
One just follow-up question, Mr. Joga Singh.
Yeah.
I met 2 gentlemen in America. One worked in Princeton as postdoc. Another gentleman currently is a professor at MIT. He's a scientist. They both said one gentleman studied up to BSc in Telugu medium, and now he is a scientist working in MIT. So both of them said they were able to read the Telugu textbooks. Even 500-page book they can read in a couple of hours. Whereas if they have to read
Yeah.
English textbooks, it will take a day to read. So they said by reading in the mother tongue, they can comprehend faster, they can read faster, they can retain faster, better.
That's a very important point you have raised. And then we can calculate how much time and money we are losing by teaching in English. It takes 1 hour for Telugu, but it will take 5 hours for English. And even then, that child, they will not able to retain that content. That loss. There was a study in Andhra Pradesh itself. They compared the mathematics competence of Telugu medium children and the English medium children. Telugu medium children were better at mathematics than the English medium children. This happened in Andhra Pradesh. There was a study in Andhra Pradesh. But Andhra Pradesh, the Telugu and Telangana government and Andhra Pradesh government don't pay any heed to that. They just want to make money from education, and that cannot be possible. That's not possible without privatizing the education. And education cannot be privatized without the English medium of education. And English medium of education is not possible until and unless there is dominance of English in all domains of our public life in particular, our formal life in particular.
Any others, please?
Sir, yeah, I want to mention one other incident. I went to that village in Nalgonda district where a child named Chandu died because the teacher smashed his head against the wall. But Chandu spoke in Telugu and did not speak in English. I went to that school. I talked to those school people, and they said they were running school in the Telugu medium, but nobody, because people are not coming to Telugu medium at school, so they were losing money. So they converted their school to English medium. I went to that village also. We met the Chandu's parents and all of them. But you see, why that school was converted from Telugu to English medium? Because they were not getting anything Telugu medium. All entrance tests, all admissions, everywhere, everything is obtained in English only. And when English is the medium, then poor children cannot compete with the richer children. And that is why the elite doesn't want to convert schools into mother tongue medium, because even mother tongue is the medium, the children from the non-elite backgrounds, they will be able to compete better with the elite.
Thank you. Others, please. Venkat garu, Mysore.
Sir, what I have been talking to you, I have written actually hundreds and hundreds of letters to Andhra Pradesh and Telangana officials, education officials, vice chancellors, ministers, to everybody. And I told, as I have been told earlier, my booklet on the language is translated into Telugu. And it has appeared in 2 places at least, one in Ammanadu and one in Bhasha magazine, the magazine published by Central University of Hyderabad, Linguistics magazine. And it is not that case that people don't know. All the vice chancellors, all the ministers, we have been talking for the past 10 years. I think we have been taking all this research and what British Council says, what UNESCO says, what the successful international practice is. We have been taking all these things to everywhere, to all the ministers and officials and all the politicians. But it's not the case that they don't know it. Their interests are different.
Yoga Singh ji,
Yes, sir.
you might not know, but in Praja Sahiti,
Yeah.
one important progressive monthly, your essays were transferred into Telugu. We could
Yeah.
not collect that in time.
Okay.
And we could not
Okay, thank
include it in
Thank you.
video.
Anand. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Div Kumar garu, you can narrate it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I joined this meeting some lately. First of all, I would like to greet Mr. Yoga Singh ji. We are familiar with his name. I think your article was published in Janata or something in English magazine, and it was translated into Telugu by our chief editor Ravi Babu Garu.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
For 3 months, as a serial, that article, mostly it may be in between 15 to 18 pages article.
Yeah.
It was published in our Praya Sahiti monthly magazine during 2015, 7 years back, not now.
Yeah.
7 years back, and later we have reproduced it in our huge volume with respect to the mother language and ruling in mother language, administration through mother language.
If I could have some title photographs with me, you can pass on to Ramaya sir, and you can pass it to me.
I will certainly pass it. To the best of my remembrance, I have passed it to your email. In the English original, your email ID was given. So I don't know whether it is correct email or not.
I must have forgotten. It's long time. I might be having with me. Yeah, thank you.
I think a message also.
Yes, lest I forget. Amongst all these negative situation, I want to give you some news which gives some hope. This campaign we have been carrying out, a number of people throughout India, people like you and others, have started making some impact. During the past 2 years, 250,000 students in Punjab have migrated from private schools to government schools, which are mainly Punjabi medium.
Very good.
So it has started making an impact, and also this English medium schooling started some 20 years back. Now the results are out. Earlier people didn't know the result of English medium schooling. Now the results are out. They have come to know that these English medium school children are neither good at their subjects, nor they are better at English compared to the earlier generation who studied English from 6th standard, and nor they cannot be good at their own mother tongue. So now the results are out, and it's a prime time that we hit this nail on head. And even in NEP 2020, there are some 10 to 11 pages out of 66 pages of NEP 2020. 11 pages sings the song of praise of mother tongue and the importance of mother tongue, but they were still left very big loopholes and gaps in that, which will be exploited by this privatized private education players and the English medium advocates. Until we fill those loopholes, we cannot. Those nice words about mother tongue will not have any real impact.
భాస్కర్ రెడ్డి గారు కానీ నీహారి కానీ మాట్లాడాలండి.
నమస్కారం అండి సార్, సీతారామూర్తి బులుసు.
నమస్కారం అండి.
నమస్కారం సార్. జోగా సింగ్ గారు చెప్పిన దాన్ని బట్టి చూస్తే ఈ ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియంలో చదువుకున్న వాళ్ళకి ఇంగ్లీష్ రాదు, తెలుగు రాదు, రెంటికి చెడ్డ రేవడైపోతున్నారు. దే ఆర్ పూర్ బోత్ ఇన్ ఇంగ్లీష్ అండ్ తెలుగు. That is what is happening. People should realize, the authorities should realize that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for enlightening all of us on this English medium courses. And all
thank you, sir. This is nothing from me. I am taken wise people's all these statements and their studies, and I am just telling it to you. There is nothing from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
బోధన్ నుంచి హెడ్ మాస్టర్ గారు మాట్లాడండి.
నాదొక చిన్న విజ్ఞప్తి అండి. జోగా సింగ్ గారి ఫోన్ నంబరు ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి మన మిత్రులకి అందేటట్టు చూడండి. కోదండరామయ్య గారు
మీరు కొంచెం అది ఆ విషయం ఇక్కడ చాట్ లో పెట్టండి అటువంటివి. ఇంకెవరైనా మాట్లాడేది చెప్పండి.
మాధురెడ్డిని జోగా సింగ్ sir.
Yes, sir.
In the Telugu states, the politicians are saying people wanted English medium.
Yeah.
That's why we are introducing. And then the people who are sold by these private schools who are collided with these caste and religious leaders for their self-benefit. And then business owners, they are hyped the English medium is the way for your children to go to America, which is not true. As a matter of fact, in America and Europe, people are against immigration. They want to stop it tomorrow. There's a lot of crisis going on in America right now. And these people are sold, the poor people, that your son, if he studied in English medium, there are a job waiting for them in America. And that is why parents are asking my son to go to English medium, and they're spending a lot of money. So how to counter this caste and religious leaders who are promoting this kind of philosophy?
See, the only way, as I told earlier, is to take all these facts and figures and successful international practice to each nook and corner of the country, talk to people, talk to politicians, and we should ask the leaders. They are made to lead the people. They are not made to being led by the foolish notions. First, they create a situation where people start believing that without English you cannot survive, and then they say that people want English. People want English, that is true, but because you have created a situation where people have no other, people think there's no other option. So that situation has to be changed by the leaders, by the politicians, by the policymakers. Otherwise, one day the people will rise and they will change the situation. And I am sure that this situation will change. It has changed. It has been changed throughout the world. Whole of Europe used to study in Latin medium. Okay, all medicine, everything were being taught in Latin. But then they started teaching in German and French and English and all those languages. And that was then they were great. They started developing very fast. Then it did not make them make any loss. So what we need to do is we should shame these leaders, go to them and tell this is what British Council says about learning English, this is what UNESCO says, and this is what the whole of world is. Even America, whole of America is not teaching in English medium. Go to California, and most of the schools are in Spanish medium. Go to Chicago. In one city, you will find at least 4 medium schools in Chicago. They are teaching in Navajo, they are teaching in Spanish, they are teaching in English, they are teaching in French even at some places. Okay? So it's not the case that even America is teaching in English only. They know it that mother tongue is best, particularly during the formative years. And they are trying their best even in America that the children who are not native speakers of English, they are taught in their mother tongues in the school level at least. That's what is happening. And Australia teaches in Dirbal. This New Zealand teaches in Maori also. And they are doing better. That's why they are doing better.
శంకర రమేష్ గారు మాట్లాడాలి. శంకర రమేష్ గారు చేతులు ఎత్తారు, చెయ్యెత్తారు. మద్రాసు నుంచి పురుషోత్తమన్ గారు వచ్చారు. మీరేమైనా మాట్లాడతారా?
లేదండి, నేను వినడానికి వస్తున్నాను.
సంతోషం. పూర్ణచంద్రరావు గారు మాట్లాడండి.
ఏం లేదు, ప్రస్తుతానికి అయితే మాట్లాడేది ఏం లేదండి.
సంతోషం. అన్నా మేరీ గారు బోధన నుంచి.
One thing I would like to state, if I should not forget, that I am always there where I think that I am needed and I can be of any help or I can be useful. I have been roaming all about. Even in Andhra Pradesh, we have been to several places. We conducted Central University of Hyderabad conducted a seminar on the importance of mother tongue. It was conducted by Umameshwar Rao. And Umameshwar Rao Garu is doing great work for promotion of Telugu language. He has produced a book which shows that economically Telugu economically is better than English when it comes to economic things.
Thank you. The young man has joined now. We'll ask him to talk.
నమస్తే అండి. ఒక నిమిషం నాకు కొంచెం అవకాశం ఇస్తారా? కామేశ్వర శర్మ, ఆలస్యానికి మన్నించాలి.
ఒక్క నిమిషంలో ముగించండి.
అలాగేనండి. జోగా సింగ్ గారు నమస్తే. నేను ప్రత్యేక కారణం వల్ల ఆలస్యంగా చేరాను. లింగ్విస్టిక్స్ భాషా శాస్త్రం గురించి నేను పెద్దగా చదవలేదు. తర్వాత మీరు కానీ విన్నారా? పేరు భాస్కర్ శర్మ అని ద్రవిడియన్ లింగ్విస్టిక్స్ లో స్పెషలైజ్ చేశారండి. వారి జపాన్ లో 14-15 ఏళ్ళు ఉన్నారు. ముందు చిన్నప్పుడు ఏమైనా ఆయన చదువుకున్న మా పక్కన నైబర్ అనమాట, ఇరుగు పొరుగు. వాళ్ళ గురించి మీరు ఏమైనా ద్రవిడ్ లింగ్విస్టిక్స్ లో మీరు బాగా కృషి చేసి ఉంటారు అనుకుంటున్నాను. విన్నారు?
సంతోషం అండి.
ఫాలో మీ.
SRL Rao garu
Kodanramaya garu, can
I did follow, sir. I did follow Sharma garu. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madhureddy garu maatladandi.
Mr. Joga Singh.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Joga Singh, in social media nowadays everybody has a smartphone. And funny thing is, in my childhood hardly anybody knew how the typewriter looks like in Telugu.
Yeah.
But now hundreds of thousands of people every day they are writing in Telugu script.
Yeah.
That is a positive thing. But in social media, when I said you learn your mother tongue and then learn English, just like Europeans, so like Russians, so Chinese, so Japanese, Koreans, we have to follow that route. Then people accuse me. They call names and they said, you learn, you are in America, you are upper caste. And they started calling all kinds of names. And these are the educated people. They are so blinded.
I know. I wrote to Mr. Kancha Alaya several times that you are saying that if poor children are taught in English medium, they will be better off. You are their enemy. They'll be further. They'll have more. They will suffer greater losses if they are taught in English than and are not taught in Telugu. But Mr. Kancha Alaya never replied to me. I have sent all the British Council, UNESCO, and all international evidence facts to him, but he never replies. Huh? So how it is? How insincere people could be? You can see. He should have provided the argument why he is vouching the case of English medium for Telugu children, but he never replies.
See, because
SRL Rao garu maatladali.
And one thing, you made a point about digital media. The digital media,
Mr. Joga Singh,
I would like to.
Because of such a high unemployment.
Yeah. Hello.
SRL Rao garu మాట్లాడాలి. మిగిలిన వాళ్ళు ఆగండి. రవీంద్రనాథ్ గారైనా మాట్లాడండి. దే హావ్ రేజ్డ్ హ్యాండ్స్. దే ఆర్ గివ్ ప్రయారిటీ టు దెమ్. SRL రావు గారు, రవీంద్రనాథ్ గారు.
Joga Singh ji, whatever you have told us many times, we have.
ఓకే, కంటిన్యూ చేయండి. వేరే వాళ్ళు మాట్లాడమనండి, ఇబ్బంది లేదు. నమస్తే.
I am talking. I am Ravindra now. Let me talk, please. Joga Singh ji, whatever you have told to us today, many times we also conquered with the same thing. Like Kancha Ailaya, he has done great injustice to his people, and the government, for the voters' sake, they are taking his advice and following. But they don't want the government, and they want more jobs, because IT people, they are coming to campuses and they are attracting students in interviews, and they are giving jobs. That is why most of the IT jobs are like typist jobs only. They don't produce noble laureates or great technicians. So for them, this English is sufficient. For this sake only, the government is pushing these people to English medium throughout India. I believe so.
See, there is nothing wrong learning in English. We should learn English. It gives you great power. But what's the best way to learn English? English medium is not the best way to learn English. That way you will lose in terms of in education, and you will not be very good at English also. That's what the British Council says. Nobody knows better how to teach English than British Council. If Kanchalaya or other people think they know better than British English, then we are doomed. See, these people will realize one day, but by that time we would have suffered great losses. Why to make ourselves suffer those great losses and we should make amends in time. Yeah, the situation is so. Why in IT you don't need English? The least English you need in IT only. In programming, what amount of English you know in programming? You need to know very little English if you are to program in English. And also with this, what point Madhugaru raised, the digital media has given great given space to mother tongues and empowered them. And what's going to happen in a few years? In next few years, nobody will need to learn any language. The technology is making such great advances. I will be speaking in Punjabi and you will be listening in Telugu. You will be hearing that in Telugu. So technology is going to make the learning of languages just a waste of time, I think. People will be learning only for their hobby or for their other interests. For speaking or talking to others, they will not need to learn any language. Technology make a great advances. And it is even now possible. You can talk English and Chinese people can talk without knowing English or Chinese. They can talk Arabic and Chinese. English people can talk just through the use of technology. And it's happening in for many languages, and it's going to happen for our languages also. Localization, all this, even most of the IT firms and even business people, they know how localization is important. See, even Microsoft made a statement some years back that 95% of Indian trade is driven by Indian languages, mother tongue. That's what Microsoft says. And if the business people or the policymakers and other people are not able to listen, they don't want to listen, then all of us will suffer due to these policies. And we have been suffering. Each year, India is having a trade loss with China to the amount of 5 lakh crores. Some say about $70 billion US dollars trade loss we are having with China for the past many years. And China doesn't teach in English. You know how much China teach? How people are learning English, but how are they learning? China starts teaching English from the 4th standard. That also is not compulsory. It depends on school when they are to start. They recommend that you should start from the 4th standard, not only English, any foreign language. And they teach English for just 40 minutes for a day, for 3 days in a week. 120 minutes of English they teach to the Chinese people who want to learn English. Just 120 minutes of English, and they are far ahead of us in economy, in education, in science and technology, everything, and even in trade with India. You see how much loss we have been suffering. A trade loss we have been suffering, a trade deficit we have been suffering with China itself. But if the policymakers are not able to see what China is doing, it is just across the border, we can't help. Then we all India is doomed to be ruined. And we have been ruined almost. We are nowhere in the international market. We are 140 crore people, 1.4 billion people, and our trade share in the world is not more than 4%. Okay, that's our trade share, GDP share in the world, 4%. And they don't sit and count that what they have earned through this English medium education, earlier higher education, now even the school education. One day India will count the losses, and they will count it very soon, I think, because earlier the crisis was not that deep because school education was not in English. But for the past, say, 20 years or so, even the school education is being converted to English medium, and the crisis is bigger, and it will be further bigger, and within few years, within 5-10 years, you will see that these champions in English may be beaten and may be asked to leave India and go out because they have ruined the country. That situation, I believe that situation will happen, because if English remains to be the medium of school education in India will be further ruined in terms of education, in the domains of economy, in science, technology, and everywhere. And by the time we will start, that they have lost their languages as well, they have lost contact with their history, with their tradition, with their culture, and with their people. Yeah.
సుభాచారి గారు ఒక నిమిషం ఏమన్నా మాట్లాడితే మాట్లాడండి అయ్యా.
Yes, sir. Professor Singh, the tragedy is in Indian linguistic situation that particularly the languages is who wanted to gain money and make big business without any risk. They find the best business is opening a school and opening a college. And most of the private colleges and most of the private schools, big schools, are sponsored by the politicians who are there in the power. And they wanted to continue their business and money minting units. They make the big degree colleges and big technical colleges into a money minting units. And nowadays, the trends of all the state governments, they're encouraging private universities and discouraging the government universities, and they are not at all filling the posts of the government universities. 60% of the posts of all universities are vacant. And they're not at all taking care, and they're not at all sparing some few hours of times to look at the higher education system. And the great tragedy in this country on the languages is our English medium education it is not at all honored by the other countries. And people say that, and we want to go foreign countries through English medium education. But the tragedy is our English medium education was never honored in any other countries. And because to go there and to join any other universities in America or England or somewhere else, again they had to go for English learning classes. Either there are GRT, GATE, and all such kind of courses are there, and they have cleared the course. Then only the American government and other universities or other countries they accept. And another thing is, very badly they notice that to learn English medium is the right way. It is not at all. It is not like that. If we want to give better English, they have to start, as you mentioned, from 4th class itself. They can start with better English, and they can give the education in local medium of the language. My point is, until our political leaders leave the area of business area, making business out of the education, they should make the education out of the business.
Thank you.
They should say the other business people go into other areas for business, not into the education. This should be done. Otherwise, our Indian language cannot survive in future in very near few decades.
Exactly, sir. I will cite you one figure. None of the Indian university ranks among the first 300 in the world. First 300. And Indian university have been teaching in English for 150 years. None of them ranks among the first 300. And China has at least 6 universities among the first 100. Some estimates say that there are 10 Chinese universities which are among the first 100 universities of the world. Some say 8, some 9, some 6. But no estimate says less than 6. And India has none in the 300. They have 6 in the 100. They are teaching in Chinese.
A professor from Osmania University, your alma mater, has come, Ravindra Garu. You please ask a question. Shankar Ramesh garu gaani, Sai Niket garu gaani, రవీంద్ర గారు ఈజ్ వెరీ యాక్టివ్ ఇన్ సచ్ మీటింగ్స్ అండ్ సచ్.
కోదండరామయ్య గారు, రవీందర్ వచ్చేవరకు నేను ప్రశ్న
మాట్లాడండి.
అడుగుతున్నాను. మిస్టర్
గురువు
జోగా
గారు
సింగ్,
నాకు ఛాన్స్ ఇవ్వండి.
Yeah,
the
Ravindra
reason
garu.
why our
Malladandi.
unemployment problem is very, very high in our country, because of that, people like Kanchela are succeeding in appealing to the youth and the families. Our problem is not really language. Our problem is the employment. The reason people are learning English is because of employment. If we become like Western countries, developed countries like under 5% unemployment, then our people may not need to learn English. We are thinking they are learning English because they love English. That's not true. They are only learning English because they may be able to get a job. And unless the country address this unemployment problem seriously, it's very difficult to win the people's heart, because they are hurting. So we have to understand that logic, and that is the reason why these people like Kanchayalla is appealing to these young people and young families.
See,
పురాణం గారు
Thank
మాట్లాడండి.
you.
see, sir, I would like to answer this question. Sir, if Andhra Pradesh government or Telangana government make a provision that all examinations for jobs in Telangana or Andhra Pradesh will be given to the all entrance tests all tests for examinations for the jobs in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh will be in Telugu medium. All people will run to Telugu medium. See, why people are not getting employment through mother tongues? Because all employments are based on English. Why we need to carry out our business in say Nalgonda in English? That cannot be carried at all successfully. Why all business in Nalgonda, in offices and everywhere, in the companies everywhere is not carried out in Telugu? So first they base all employment on English, and then they say that you cannot get employed without English. But they are not calculating the cost. They are not calculating the losses we have been suffering. Everybody is suffering. India is suffering.
పురాణం గారు.
Hello. Yeah, Joga Singh ji, from my side, I appreciate your efforts to enlighten. You have taken all the facts into consideration across the globe. Thank you very much for that. From my side, I request you to do some formulation of advice or suggestion to parents. It is basically the root cause is the parents. The parents want their children to be educated at par with the British now also. So they want their children only in English medium and in a very classy atmosphere. This is causing a great hindrance in learning the things right from the childhood in our mother tongue. Right. So how to bring about the change in the mindsets of our parents?
See, parents are not the root cause.
Okay.
The root cause are the politicians, the policymakers.
Okay.
The root cause are the policymakers who have given such say dominant space to English. See, why English should have a dominant space in our formal language in India? Telugu should be dominant in all formal spaces in Andhra Pradesh, in Telangana. Punjabi should have the domain. So root cause are the parents are forced. They are put in a situation, and parents cannot be linguists. All people cannot be linguists who know that what is the best way to learn English. If our politicians and education ministers don't know or don't want to know how to learn English, then how we can expect from the parents? So the only way is to take all these facts and arguments and the international scene to the people, to everybody, wherever we can take. That is the only way we can turn this tide. Otherwise, we will not be able to. And I told you, some changes have started happening. This government of India is making some noises about mother tongue. Why they are making? Because they know that now there is some strength with this mother tongue movement, and the people have started understanding. And if they don't, and it is an emotional issue as well. And I'll tell you, BTech colleges are closed. Large number of BTech colleges are closed. Nursing colleges are closed. Law colleges are closed. Even private universities will have started closing because
Yeah,
they are not getting
pharmacy
students.
also.
And this will happen with schools also. These schools, English medium schools, most of them go down because the children they will produce, they will not be able to compete anywhere in the international arena. They will simple small jobs they can get, but they will not get the elite jobs that will not become scholars or great scientists or engineers. They will stop. They will close, I'll tell you. And it has started in India. In Punjab at least, some English medium schools have been closed because they are not getting students. It is such a costly business. See, people are being ruined. The expenses they have to bear for their children's education. It's very costly. Private education in English medium is very costly, and they don't gain anything. They don't get jobs even. Now this English medium schools and educated people are roaming in the streets and unemployed the same way that Telugu medium and Punjabi medium are roaming.
Thank you very much. That means the way we are spearheading our movement under the leadership and advice of many people like Parupalli Garu and Kodan Ramaya Garu and Nandini Siddhareddy and the like, and many Subhachari Garu, we were all our team. We are aiming at getting everything done in Telugu, like administration should be in Telugu, legal proceedings should be in Telugu, and so on and so forth. That's it. Thank you very much.
See, some domains we have been making some advancement, like DET is in many languages now. It is a question paper in many languages. AIEEE in many languages. So we have been making some gains also, and I am very confident that in the next within 5-10 years, India is going to see a great sea change as far as this English medium education is concerned.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
ఆదిత్య మాట్లాడాలండి. మారెల్లపూడి ఆదిత్య. అన్నా మేరీ గారు ఇంకెవరైనా మాట్లాడితే మాట్లాడండి.
जोगा सिंह जी, आपका प्रेजेंटेशन अभी मिलते हैं एक PDF में?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's in Telugu as well. It's available in Telugu. Not this presentation, but this I'm speaking extempore. But I can send you some documents in English and that booklet in Telugu, which gives all these facts we have been talking about.
Please make it available in our website, sir. Telugu.
Okay. Kindly send me an email. It is with the Ramaya Garu. You ask him to give you the email, and you can send you a website, and I'll send you.
భాగ్యలక్ష్మి గారు మాట్లాడాలండి. భాగ్యలక్ష్మి గారు, అన్నా మేరీ గారు, ఆదిత్య గారు. వెల్కమ్ టు ఎలక్ట్రికల్ డివిజనల్ ఇంజనీర్ హైదరాబాద్. జై హింద్ గారు.
I am Divikumar here. I would like to
go ahead.
I would like to comment on Ailaya, Kancha Ailaya, whom I know since last 40 years. Once he came to Vijayawada 6 years back, 2016, and in that meeting what he told, nobody else can write good English rather than me. And he has told in that meeting. I immediately questioned in an article criticizing his linguistic approach and pointed out that, Mr. Ailaya, you have studied in Telugu medium. For all these 30 years, more than 1 crore Telugu students have studied in English medium. 1 crore. Out of 1 crore, no one could surpass you in English. What is it? Or what kind of English they are learning? It is the weakness of the other language with the mother tongue. I have told to Ailaya in an article.
See, I think nobody is a greater enemy of poor Telugu children than Kancha Ailaya. And they will realize it very soon. Punjab government in some schools gave the option of English medium also. Some people joined the English medium, but most of them are turning back to Punjabi medium. They have realized it that this English medium harms them more than the Punjabi medium, and they're even some panchayats have passed a resolution that they don't want their schools to be converted into English medium. That is happening in Punjab. People have started realizing, and that more and more people will start realizing. And Telugu people will be, I should not use that word, and Telugu poor will one day abuse Kanchalaya most than anybody else. They will come to know how much harm he has done to them. Yeah.
ఆదిత్య గారు, భాస్కర్ రెడ్డి గారు, భాగ్యలక్ష్మి గారు, జైహింద్ గారు, మీరు మాట్లాడిన డి గారు. సుభాషిణి గారు, మీరు చెప్పండి.
నేను కొంచెం ఆలస్యంగా వచ్చాను, పూర్తిగా వినలేదు. కాకపోతే మన ఇప్పుడు ఇందులో ఇందాక మీరు పిలుస్తున్న ఆదిత్య మార్లపూడి అనేది ఇదివరకు మీకు 2-3 సార్లు చెప్పాను మీటింగ్ లో. ఇన్స్టాలో చాలా మంది కుర్రోళ్ళు అంటే యువకులు ఉన్నారని. అందులో ఈయన కూడా వారధి అనే ఇన్స్టాగ్రామ్ పేజ్ నడుపుతున్నారు. ఈయన వచ్చి జేఎన్టీయూలో బీటెక్ రెండవ సంవత్సరం చదువుతూ ఉన్నారు. పరిచయం చేద్దామని చెప్తున్నానండి.
సంతోషం అండి.
నమస్కారం అండి. హలో, సారీ ఆలస్యంగా వచ్చాను. వాళ్ళ ఎగ్జామ్ ఉంది నాకు, అందుకనే ఇప్పుడే కొత్తగా పరిచయమైన స్నేహితుడు సుభాషుడు ఆయన ఉన్నారు కదా, వారు నాకు ఈ లింక్ పెడితే నేను జాయిన్ అయ్యాను. నాకు అందుకనే నాకు ఈ మీరు మాట్లాడుతున్న అంశాలపైన అంతగా అవగాహన లేదు. అందుకనే ఇంకా బుక్ ఏమైనా మాట్లాడదామంటే నాకు అందుకనే కొంచెం సంకోచం.
మీరు తెలుగుకి ఏం చేస్తున్నారో కొద్దిగా క్లుప్తంగా చెప్పండి, మేము ఆనందిస్తాం.
అంటే
మామూలుగా చాలు, అది చెప్పండి చాలు, మీరేం కంగారు పడద్దు. మేమే ఇక్కడ గొప్పగా మీరు చెప్పండి, సంతోషం మీరు రావడం, చెప్పండి.
అంటే ఏం లేదండి, నాకు అనిపించింది ఏంటంటే తెలుగు మనకి అంటే ఇంగ్లీష్ లో మాట్లాడమంటారా? అంటే తెలుగేతరులు కూడా ఉన్నారు కదా,
ఒక్కరే తెలుగేతరులు
అంటే వారికి కూడా అర్థం కావాలేమో అని. లేకపోతే
ఏదో ఒకటి
అందరికీ తెలుగు వచ్చినండి, మీరు మాట్లాడండి, తెలుగులోనే
అదేనండి. నేను ఏంటంటే నాకు తెలుగు వ్యాకరణం పైన వీటన్నిటి మీద అంత పట్టలేదండి. కాకపోతే నాకు అనిపించింది ఏంటంటే మనం తెలుగు చదవడం ద్వారా లేకపోతే లిటరేచర్ మనం ఎంతో కొంత దాన్ని చదివి దాని గురించి రాయడం, లేకపోతే దాన్ని కొంచెం ఆర్ట్తో లింక్ చేసి మనం ఏమైనా ఒక కంటెంట్ క్రియేట్ చేయడం వల్ల కానీ, ఆన్లైన్ క్రియేట్ చేసి పోస్ట్ చేయడం వల్ల, అంటే మనకి ఏదో ఒక రకంగా అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఈ జనరేషన్ వాళ్ళకి ఈ తరం వాళ్ళకి ఇంట్రెస్ట్ లేక కదండి, అది ఇంకొంచెం వాళ్ళకి ఆసక్తికరంగా దాన్ని అంటే మంచి విలువలతో కూడి దాన్ని ఆసక్తికరంగా వాళ్ళకి ప్రజెంట్ చేస్తే వాళ్ళు ఖచ్చితంగా దాన్ని వాళ్ళు చేయరా, వాళ్ళు దాన్ని స్వాగతిస్తారు. అంటే నాకు అనిపించింది ఏంటంటే తర్వాత ఇంగ్లీష్ మన టీచింగ్ అంతా మోస్ట్లీ ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియంలో ఇప్పుడు అంతా నడుస్తుంది కదండి. అంటే అది మామూలుగా కొనసాగి తర్వాత దాంతో పాటు తెలుగు కూడా అంటే బైలింగ్వల్ ట్రైలింగ్వల్ ఈ స్కిల్స్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి ఇంకా వాళ్ళ కెరీర్ లో ఇంకా బాగా వాళ్ళు చేయగలుగుతారు. సో ఇంగ్లీషుని ఆపేయక్కర్లేదు, తెలుగు కూడా అంతే బాగా నేర్చుకోవచ్చు. అలాగే హిందీ కావాలంటే ఇంకా కొన్ని లాంగ్వేజెస్ నేర్చుకోవచ్చు. సో మౌలికంగా మన విద్యా వ్యవస్థలో తప్పే ఉందంటే మార్క్స్ ఓరియంటెడ్ గా ఉండడం వల్ల.
ఆదిత్య గారు, మీరు ఏం చేస్తున్నారు తెలుగు కోసం అని అడుగుతున్నారు, మీ ఆలోచనలు కాదు. ఇప్పుడు దాకా ఏం చేశారని అడిగారు మన వాళ్ళు.
అంటే నేను కొంచెం కవిత్వం ఏదో ప్రయత్నించి దాంతో నా ఫ్రెండ్స్ నా స్నేహితులతో కొన్ని ఇలిస్ట్రేషన్స్ తోటి వాటిని కొంచెం కవిత్వం కానీ లేకపోతే ఎవరైనా కవుల గురించి కానీ అంతగా నేను ఎక్కువ చేయలేదండి. ఒక 15 పోస్ట్ వరకు ఉంటే
మంచిదండి, అలాగే కొనసాగించండి. ప్రతి రెండవ శనివారం 4వ శనివారం మాతో చేరండి. సుభాషుడు గారితో కూడా మీరు ఎప్పుడు సంపర్కంలో ఉండండి. ఇలా ముందుకు వెళ్దాము. మీ తరం వారు కూడా మాకు చాలా మంది కావాలి. సంతోషం. నెక్స్ట్ తదుపరండి
సాయి నికేత్ గారు. పారేపల్లి వారు ఏమైనా మాట్లాడతారా?
See, what Aditya is mentioning, if you keep Telugu grammar on one side and then English grammar on the other side, you will find that there is some 80% similarity between two grammars. So best way to teach English grammar is to first teach Telugu grammar and then go to English. Yeah.
ప్లీజ్ టాక్. సత్యనారాయణ గారు, మీ దగ్గర చప్పుడు వస్తుందండి, వేరే చప్పుళ్ళు వస్తున్నాయి, అందుకనే మోగ చేశాను మిమ్మల్ని. అన్నా మేరీ గారు మాట్లాడండి. ఇక ముగిద్దామా మరి? వీవెన్ గారు.
అంటే కోదండరామయ్య గారు, నేను ఇంకొక విషయం చెప్దాం అనుకుంటున్నాను. ఇప్పుడు మాట్లాడిన ఆదిత్య గారు ఉన్నారు కదా, ఆయనలో ఇంకో ఆసక్తికర విషయం కూడా ఉంది. ఏంటంటే కేవలం లాక్డౌన్ 2 సంవత్సరాల్లో తమిళ భాషని లిపితో సహా నేర్చుకున్నారు. ఆ భాష మీద ఆసక్తితో. నేను 4 ఏళ్లలో నేర్చుకున్నది ఆయన 2 ఏళ్లలో మొత్తం నేర్చుకున్నారు. కనీసం కాకినాడలో ఉంటూ. అలాగా అంత అభిమానం, భాష నేర్చుకోవాలని ఆసక్తి ఆయనకు అంత ఉంది. అలాగే మన ఇప్పుడున్న సమూహంలో ఉన్న అతి పిన్న వయసు వారిలో ఆయనే ఉన్నది నాకు తెలిసి.
సంతోషం. వివేన్ గారు.
రవి గారు చెప్పండి.
ఏమన్నా చెప్తారా? మీరు ఏమన్నా అడుగుతారా?
One question probably is, the education is one thing. If we see our environment around us, for example, every morning I wake up and use toothbrush, toothpaste and soap, all the products. They invariably carry labels and everything in English. Usage instructions, health related warnings, everything in English. Second, banking, insurance, these services, and then essential financial services are also in English. Very rarely we see a form in like Telugu to fill in the blanks. And all the stock market, mutual funds, everything is totally in English. So in this scenario, I mean, if we are targeting just education, that is probably a part of the whole. Now, where the whole environment itself is like so bombarded, like in English, we also need to work. Yeah, we also need to work like towards a greater change across the industry, across the whole of ecosystem within India. Do you have any thoughts? And
see, that is the way what they want. That is the way to they keep the dominance and hegemony of English language. All these domains you are talking about, they can use mother tongues in all those domains, and our work will be better. If any bank in Andhra Pradesh works in Telugu, that the business will be easier in all respects. If they work in English, there will be difficulties, many difficulties. So you are right that it's not mere education is in English medium, because the whole environment is in English. So we need to change that environment. We need to base all those work on our mother tongue. Only then we will be able to make some change in education also.
ఆదిత్య గారు మాట్లాడొచ్చు.
నేను గమనించింది ఏంటంటే, విద్యా వ్యవస్థలో మౌలికంగా ఒక తప్పు జరుగుతుందండి. ఏంటంటే మార్క్స్ ఓరియంటెడ్ గా వెళ్ళడం వల్ల, అంటే ఇది ఓన్లీ లాంగ్వేజ్ విషయంలో కాదు, ఇట్స్ నాట్ ఓన్లీ రిలేటెడ్ టు లాంగ్వేజ్, బట్ the fundamental problem with our education system is that uh, more emphasis is given to for marks, to somehow get marks, rather than making students understand or love that subject. So I think a better our approach is especially when it comes to language, our approach is rote learning. And I found that that is very that's a bottleneck when you come to language learning. It does not work. So and the students are not exposed to literature. They should in other countries, especially if you see in the US or UK, they make kids read chapter books, very thick books of English stories or literature, and they make them fall in love with that literature. So if so whether we have English medium, that's all irrelevant, because in this in the present scenario, it is not that possible to completely remove English from our education. So what needs to be, I think, in my humble opinion, what I believe needs to be done is that students should be introduced to more literature. They should know about poets, they should know about the history of the language, they should be taught to love the language. And as if they become exposed to more literature, then there's no way that the language will leave them until their until the end of their lives. The language will be ingrained in them, and they will become proud speakers of that language, and they'll carry that identity with them. So it's a win-win situation, and that can be done for English learning English also, because it is we cannot skip the fact that we cannot avoid the reality that English is necessary for employment. So
థ్యాంక్స్ ఆదిత్య గారు, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
ఓకే
పారుపల్లి వారు
చెప్పండి.
ఒక సూచన అండి నాకు ఈ సమావేశానికి. నేను కామేశ్వర శర్మ, నమస్తే. ఇప్పుడు వారు చెప్పారు కదా, వివిఎన్ గారు ఎవరను, రోజు కన్జ్యూమర్ గుడ్స్ టూత్ పేస్ట్ నుంచి అవన్నీ వాడుతున్నాము, అదంతా బాగానే ఉంది. దానివల్ల మనం ఆ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరర్స్, ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో ఉంటే ఆ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరర్స్ ఎవరైతే ప్రోడక్ట్ తయారు చేస్తారో వాళ్ళకి ఉత్తరాలు రాయట కాదు. మీకు ఏంటి, మీకు డిఫికల్టీ ఏంటి, మీకు ఇబ్బంది ఏంటి, పాల ప్యాకెట్ మీద, విశాఖపట్నం డైరీ పాల ప్యాకెట్ మీద ప్లీజ్ యూజ్ బిఫోర్ సో అండ్ సో అని రాస్తాడు. ప్రతిదాని మీద అంతే. అది ఏంటి వాళ్ళకి ఇబ్బంది? తెలుగులో రాయడం వాళ్ళకి ఇబ్బంది. బై అండ్ లార్జ్ 80% ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్ తెలుగు వాళ్ళే. కాబట్టి ఏ రాష్ట్రంలో ఏ ప్రోడక్ట్ తయారు చేస్తే ప్రతి ప్రోడక్ట్ మీద ఉండాలి. మీరు చెప్పేవారు కదా, దాని మీద ఏమని, మంచినీళ్ళు దాని మీద ఏమని తెలుగులో రాయాలని. మనం ఇక్కడ డిస్కస్ కాకుండా వాళ్ళని కూడా ఉత్తరాల ద్వారా లేకపోతే ఫోన్ల ద్వారా నంబర్లు సంపాదించి చేస్తే బాగుంటుందని నా సూచన అండి. ఏ రాష్ట్రానికి ఆ రాష్ట్రం.
సంతోషం. ప్రశ్నలు అడగండి ఎవరైనా. ఇక నుంచి వివరణ వద్దు, 1-2 వాక్యాల్లో ప్రశ్నలు ఏమైనా ఉంటే అడగండి ఎవరైనా. వివన్ గారు ముగిద్దామా? ఇక
కోదండరామయ్య గారు, లాస్ట్ one quick question. Mr. Joga Singh, we discussing this issue in every angle, but the critical issue here is when people don't get employment, they look for any kind of misinformation. Can you focus your studies how to minimize the employment so that people don't have to learn English for the employment purpose? Thank you.
See, that's a very simple, that we should work with other languages. We should work in our languages. Then people will get employment by Telugu, by Punjabi, by other mother tongues, and they will not need to learn. See, nothing wrong learning English. I think that it's good to learn English. And the question is that how to learn English well? By converting education to English medium just for learning English is making us suffer huge losses.
I agree that point, but my question is, the reason why people are attracted to learn English is because of unemployment. If we improve the employment situation in India overall,
Madhureddy garu, we are repeating this point for 3rd time. Don't repeat the point.
See, employment should be in Andhra Pradesh, all employment should be in Telugu. In Punjab, all employment should be in Punjabi. Then people will study in Telugu and Punjabi medium. when all employment is based in English, everything is, people get everything only through English, they will run after English. As simple as that.
There are not enough jobs. In Punjab, there's not enough jobs. In Andhra.
Madhureddy garu, you are talking about jobs for 4th time. Please don't repeat the issue. Ask a question. Don't explain.
Kodanramaya garu, it is important. He's talking only learning English. I'm saying the problem is with the unemployment. That is why all the people are attracted, looking for other ways how to get it.
See, sir, if everybody knows English, will there be no unemployment? Will there be how English learning will help in say reducing the employment in India? It would rather we will reduce the employment only if we use our languages, because we will be better off in terms of education, in economy, in science, technology, everything. Employment can be generated only by developing our economics, our science, our technology, everything. Without developing all those sectors, we cannot generate employment. And the policy, the education policies and language policy and practice we are following, that is not going to allow this sector to develop well.
Padmavati garu, ముగిస్తారా?
అలాగే సార్. కార్యక్రమంలో ఈసారి చాలా ఉత్సాహంగా పాల్గొన్నారు, అందరూ పాల్గొన్నారు. సార్, మా తెలుగు మీకు అర్థమవుతుంది కదా అందరికి? మంచి కార్యక్రమం సార్. మీకు అందరికీ కూడా పాల్గొన్నందుకు. ఈసారి వచ్చిన కొత్త వారి నెంబర్స్ కూడా కొన్ని పోస్ట్ చేశారు సార్, అవి తీసుకుందాము. అందరికీ మరొకసారి శుభ సాయంత్రం, ధన్యవాదాలండి. ఈ కార్యక్రమం ఇంతటితో ముగించబడుతుంది.
నమస్కారం.
Namaste, Joga Singh ji.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to talk to such scholarly people. Yeah.
కొత్త వాళ్ళు
నమస్కారం అండి జోగా సింగ్ గారు.
నమస్కారం అండి. బాగున్నా.
ఆదిత్య గారు ఫోన్ నంబర్ రాయండి.
వార్పల్ వారి ఫోన్ నెంబర్లు వస్తే ఇప్పుడు మనం ఎందులో చూడాలి? తెలుగు దాంట్లోనా? వాళ్ళతో మాట్లాడాలన్నా వాళ్ళనా? ఇప్పుడు కొత్త వాళ్ళు జాయిన్ అవ్వడం అంతా నంబర్లు రాస్తున్నారు కదా.
అవును, ఆ జట్లలో పెడుతున్నాం. ఏ ప్రాంతం వాళ్ళ ఆ ప్రాంతంలో పెడుతున్నాం. ఆంధ్ర వాళ్ళ ఎక్కువగా తెలుగు వెల్లువ అని గోదావరి జిల్లాలో విడిగా పెడుతున్నాం. అట్లా చేస్తున్నాం. ఇంతటితో ముగిసిందండి. వచ్చినందరికీ నమస్కారం.
నమస్కారం.